News just coming in, we are tracking at this hour. Multiple explosions have rocked Venezuela's capital, Caracas, early on Saturday, and columns of black smoke and aircraft could be seen, according to witnesses. This is news that's breaking at the moment. According to witnesses, a power outage affected the southern area of the city near a major military base in Caracas. Attacks also took place in the states of Miranda, Aragua, and La Guaira, a government statement has informed, prompting President Nicolás Maduro to declare a national emergency and mobilize defense forces. Venezuela says it rejected military aggression.
There is no conclusive proof, but we can now, connect the dots, and this is what it appears, that US has apparently now finally taken, large-scale military action against Venezuela. Now, whether this is going to be limited to this action or the escalation will take place, that remains to be seen. But you are right, a national emergency has been ordered by President Maduro. However, the US is yet to comment on any of these strikes. We are expecting that if it is indeed true and the US has struck Venezuela, then they will be coming out with an official statement. However, again, question obviously will be raised about the legality of these strikes, because you cannot just bomb another country on accusations that you cannot even prove in front of the world. Yesterday Donald Trump had already also said that he's going to the US remains locked and loaded to attack Iran. So a lot of these problematic statements and actions coming in from the US administration as far as action against countries, especially of these global South countries, are concerned. So we are yet to know the impact, but the clear allegations that Venezuelans are raising is that the US is trying to steal the natural resources, which has been a long-standing accusation by the Venezuelan government as well as people in Venezuela, activists there. Because just last point I want to add here, Shubhendu. Venezuela has more proven oil reserves than any other country in the world. If the US secures that, then all of their dependence on Middle East is over, essentially. Venezuela will be open for the US markets for a very long-term energy dependence deal if a favorable government comes to Venezuela. So it's very much plausible that US would be rooting for either a regime change or removal of Maduro from the head, which is quite anti and calls these kind of action US imperialism in the region.
Right, Akshay, as official information comes in on who led the attacks in Caracas, the capital of Venezuela, let's stay with the facts. For the viewers, it will be interesting to also learn about why President Trump's administration in the US has been targeting Venezuela, and particularly the Maduro administration in the past several weeks. First, targeting the boats which have been allegedly carrying narcotics, and there have been speculations of a possible land operation by the United States. And then this incident happens. The official confirmations are yet to come in. But if you could fill us in with why these developments, these tensions have been brewing in the region.
Well, firstly, this is obviously the point that US has been trying to highlight, that drug cartel is operating in Venezuela. Venezuelan government is supporting that cartel. That cartel is flooding the US borders with illegal drugs, with narcotics, and all of these are taking through shipping lanes. Boats are bringing in all of these drugs. So that is obviously one key concern that US has been pointing out. But if we go back in history, a couple of years back, repeated US administrations have tried to, bring in a political change inside Venezuela. Venezuela was once quite a rich country that used a socialism political pattern in their country. There was a lot of oil. Venezuela was quite rich. But then suddenly there was an economic turmoil that began, and Venezuela's economy started tumbling down. A lot of debt started mounting up. And there were accusations that it had everything to do with US involvement, because the government and the regime that has been there in Venezuela for a very long time has not been very favorable to the US. The US there are several countries that have a drug problem. There is Afghanistan, where US had its own soldiers deployed during the occupation. It had one of the largest drug problem. If you talk about terrorism, Pakistan is one of the biggest example of terrorism, that exports terrorism, that exports narcotics around the world. But actions are not being taken on these countries because, according to many of the accusations from the Venezuela, is that because they don't have oil. And Venezuela is the country that has there have been attempts by the US to, bring some regime change and sort of have a favorable deal with Venezuela before their own shale gas was discovered in large volumes, and it was majorly dependent on the Middle East as far as oil dependence is concerned as well. If you go back in the history, there has been a tussle, with Cuba. Venezuela has also been in tussle with the US administrations, different administrations, and now after the second term of Donald Trump, we are hearing repeatedly again and again the drug cartel and other problems being the reason why US wants a regime change in Venezuela. However, many of the countries in Latin America, like Colombia, like other countries in South America, also have this problem of drug cartelization. Mexico has this problem, but no such similar action are being taken against their leaders. But Venezuela is being singled out.
Akshay, that's interesting because from neighboring Colombia, more updates are coming in. Colombian president, in fact, Colombia in the neighborhood of Venezuela has condemned the missile attack, it calls, that has taken place in Caracas, while more official updates are just coming in. Akshay, could you also fill us in with the kind of military buildup, the US military buildup that the region has experienced? The USS Gerald Ford aircraft carrier played a key role in the US seizing the oil tanker off Venezuela coast a week ago. Then US has also deployed about 15,000 troops. There's a massive buildup in the region, in the port of Venezuela, in the Caribbean Sea, that Trump administration has undertaken. All these indicating a possible bigger military actions against Venezuela. We're not sure if that has happened in Caracas, but all information appears to be pointing in that direction.
Well, there have been these kind of fears that have been staked by some of the experts, but you have to look at the fact that Venezuela, it's quite difficult as far as the situation is concerned right now to comment on it, because if we look at the situation right now, then Venezuela has a leader that is quite anti-US. Either he will politically align himself to the US, or there will be a regime change if the military buildup that is going on is exerted inside Venezuela, because Venezuela is in no condition to militarily defend itself as far as the US might in that region is concerned. It is just in the backyard of the US that is still the world's largest navy. It has over 10 nuclear aircraft carriers that can surround the entire region. If you talk about the military buildup that is currently there, then obviously we have around 3 to 4 aircraft carriers that are active in the region. And if there is sort of a planning of having sort of ground offensive inside Venezuela, then US would have been all prepared. So expecting that China is going to come here or do any kind of take any kind of defensive action against the US strikes is just not a very practical thing that can be happening right now. So if there is a ground action, if there is a ground troops that go inside Venezuela, then we are most likely looking at a regime change. But as of now, people are looking at this as a pressure tactic. We have seen that Donald Trump has applied these kind of tactics on Iran, on other countries, and then backed out from a full-blown conflict. So let's hope for that, because it is going to be devastating for the world economy, as a whole.
Akshay, stay with us while we inform viewers who've just joined us as to what's going on. The visuals that we've been playing on our screens are those of, if you can have those visuals on the screen again, visuals of explosions going on in Venezuelan capital, Caracas, that took place early early Saturday morning. There have been various speculations that have been reported. Colombian president appears to point at the United States. Those are the visuals of explosions and loud noises heard in the Venezuelan capital, Caracas. The Venezuelan government has asked for mobilization of the population. Colombian president has condemned what it calls an American missile attack. No official confirmation from the United States has come in. There has been a significant military buildup in the region targeting Venezuela from the Trump administration in the United States. Hitherto, the target has been allegedly the boats carrying narcotics from Venezuela in the Caribbean Sea by the United States. There were threats of and speculations of a possible land operation by the United States. We do not know if that has taken place, but the updates that are coming in at the moment, those are the visuals of the explosions that rocked Venezuelan capital Caracas early today. Meanwhile, the latest that is coming in from the Venezuelan government that it has asked for mobilization of the population. DD India correspondent Akshay Dongare continues to track the latest. Akshay, what does mobilization of the population imply as directed by the Venezuelan government led by Nicolás Maduro? If I refer to one of the previous statements in a press conference, he had spoken about if a US land operation comes, the population must stand up and defend their country. So in that context, the mobilization of the Venezuelan population, a significant order by the Venezuelan government.
But how likely would people be, willing to actually risk their lives as far as if the ground invasion is concerned? That is the worst case scenario. But let's just hope that this stops here. As far as the information is concerned, Shubhendu, the attacks took place at about 2:15 a.m. at night, according to local time in Venezuela. It was quite pitch dark, and it is going to take some time for people to actually get in sort of touch with reality that what is happening. There is an all-out chaos there. Power outages have been reported. If you look at the statement that is coming in from the Colombian president, then I'm sure there would be some substantial proof that he would have gotten from either Venezuela or from other regional sources that they are calling it a missile strike. So if this is a missile strike, then we can expect similar kind of either a retaliation or a condemnation by Venezuelan side. But if this is indeed part of a ground attack, which is unlikely at this point in time, because we would have gotten to know had there been any kind of ground invasion. So as of now, let's just hope that this is just a limited military action and not a proper full-scale military action that the US is planning right now. There are certain international media outlets that are also present in the region. They're trying to go around and talk to people, but as of now, no clear sort of proofs have emerged that a ground invasion is in force right now, or is either being attempted, because that is going to be a major disturbance not only for the Latin American region but the global economy.
Okay, Akshay, thank you for joining us with those updates. The news that's coming in, loud explosions heard in Venezuelan capital Caracas.